That's better. What's up, Mob Crew? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me just get my mic fixed here. If you guys can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to warn you right now, I do not feel very well. I have got a fever, and it just hit me real hard earlier this afternoon. So this might be a little bit quicker show, but I do have some interesting things from what took place yesterday. And but before we get started, we go ahead and feature the missing, and then we'll talk about what I got in store for today's live show. So just a shout out to everybody, and it's good to see Tom. He is definitely taking a plea deal. It might be that way. I'm kind of leaning that way right now, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Good to see you, Tom. Hope you're doing good, buddy. So for today's missing, we got Noah Enos. Went missing just a few days ago on the 12th. Apparently he was last seen attending a concert at the Salt Shed. This is in Chicago, which is on 1300 block of North Elston Avenue. Went missing around 10 p.m. His phone battery went dead during the concert and is still showing at the Salt Shed. Interesting. Just 26 years old, 5'11", 140 pounds, black hair, brown eyes, just barely went missing. So anybody out of Chicago, Illinois, please be on the lookout for Noah. And this one just barely came in. This is Paige Branham, a missing or / runaway, 17 years old, 5'4", just 100 pounds. She's got black hair, blue eyes. She was last seen today at, let's see, so early this morning, so 12:15 a.m. So early this morning at the 12:15 a.m. She was last seen. So at 12,400 block of Little Road and Hudson, and this is Pasco County in Florida. So anybody in Florida, be on the lookout for Paige. All right. Get my chat set up. So I do have a poll, and it's kind of one of my more interesting polls because it's pretty even. So right now, if you haven't voted, I have a poll. Says, do you think Richard Allen will make it to the trial next year? Which his trial is set for right now, January 8th through the 26th. I'm sure it'd be much longer than just a couple of weeks. I'm sure that'd be a close to at least a month, if not longer, trial. Then again, if he makes a plea deal, there won't be one, but we'll have to see. But anyway, right now, what's leading in the polls is actually at 32%, and it kind of changes. No, he will make a plea deal. So most of you right now, and there's over 100 votes, think he is going to make a plea deal, and it's actually going up right now. That's kind of crazy. The second place is no, he won't last, which is not funny. But we're going to talk about his conditions. That's kind of be the focus of today's show. Of course, his hearing was yesterday, but there's a bunch of journalists. Even though there's no cameras in the courtroom, there were journalists in the courtroom, and they took notes. And so I listened to a bunch of them and basically wrote down notes. They had a bunch of witnesses come on. One of them was the warden at where he's being held at. And then, of course, let's see, who do we got? So we got Edward Schroeder, who's at Cass County, which is where they want to send Richard Allen, his attorneys. And yeah, so we'll talk about that. And then, yes, obviously, yes, will he make it? That's in third place. And then about 20% of you think, not sure. So let me get caught up in chat. And then I will play a quick video. I think most of you guys know the Delphi case, so I'm not going to go through the context of it, but we'll talk about the latest. I'll play a news clip, and then we'll kind of talk about what happened in the hearing. So let me might disappear. What's up, Jennifer? And of course, shout out to all my mods, Karen, Jennifer, D. I started a little early because I'm not feeling well. My apologies. So it'll be kind of a shorter show, but like I said, got some interesting info. Why can't I see it? Oh, there we go. Back to work for me. I'll catch up later. I hope everyone is having a great day. It's been a long couple of months for me. Everything getting back to norm. That's good. God bless you all. And thanks for your hard work, Chris and mods. Thank you. It's good to see you, Tom. Glad to hear that, buddy. And thank you so much for the donation. I think he's highly mentally unstable and was on medication. That's some of them have been talking about that. But like I said, we'll cover that. So I'll go ahead and play a news clip, and then of course shout out to Christina who got me, we're going to call him McGruff, little German Shepherd dog. So thank you so much, Christine, and hope you're feeling better. Just had back surgery. So, all right, let's get going. So his condition definitely looks not that good, but we will definitely talk about his living conditions because it does seem like he's a lot worse off, but apparently he's got everything that any other inmate would have. And like I said, the warden was actually one of the witnesses on the stand yesterday, and so he was cross-examined by both attorneys. And so we'll talk about Richard Allen's living condition. About that, they did kind of mention or hint, I should say hinted because I don't know 100%, but they did kind of hint on some of the context on who these confessions, or at least part of some of these confessions, went to. And so we'll talk about that, which I find interesting because some of them could have been recorded confessions. 63 clocks. Why is R.A. at a state prison again instead of a jail since he hasn't been convicted yet? Never understood. So we'll explain that. It really just has to do with they're just afraid for his life. Delphi, from what they kind of say, I don't know if this is a word that one of the journalists used. They kind of say it's kind of like a poor county. So they can't afford the man hours to watch Allen in the Carroll County. That's the county I was trying to think of. The Carroll County, they feel like they wouldn't be able to have the manpower to watch him. And of course, if he is deteriorating and could self-harm himself, that wouldn't be good for anybody. And so, and like I said, we're going to talk about his living conditions because apparently they're better off than. Okay, so I'm going to skip this forward. I think I got a second news clip, but I'll save that towards the end. Let me skip this forward. I'm just going to have a video playing. For those that are just tuning in, part of the reason I start early is I don't feel well. Kind of got a fever, so bear with me. Let's see, where is it? Okay. So, yeah, I'm just going to kind of have a video playing. So, for those just tuning in, I'm going to go over kind of what happened with the hearing. Some of the witnesses, just minute highlights, but there are some interesting highlights that I took down for you guys. I've got like 3 pages worth. And so let's get into them. As Richard Allen appeared in court, a lot of people noticed that he did look very frail. Obviously, we just watched that. He does look pretty bad. But is it as bad as it seems? Now, what was interesting is he did have his wife, Kathy, there, and his mother, I think it was. So he had his wife and his mother there. But now, apparently, before, we haven't seen him in court many times, but the last time he was in court and the time before that, usually he mouths "I love you" to his wife or whoever's there, and I think she's always been there. He did not say anything to his family this time. Apparently, he just looked hollow-eyed and just didn't look good today or yesterday. Excuse me. Let's see, going through. So the hearing was supposed to be a bond hearing, but kind of turned into a suppression hearing and a hearing for his well-being. And they did have witnesses. Basically, most of them were kind of law enforcement, wardens, and stuff like that. One of the first witnesses was Max Baker. He was actually an intern for the defense team. So his defense team is Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rosie. Rosie was basically the guy on the stand doing everything. I guess Baldwin was kind of sitting down while Rosie did most of the work yesterday. And then, of course, you got the prosecuting attorney, Nick McLeland. So I guess it was Rosie and McLeland going back at each other. And that's where we learned about the supposed confessions. So the first thing was with Max Baker, just the highlight is, so of course, now Richard Allen's being detained at, and we can look on the map here. Let me pull this up. Explain this. So he is being detained at the Westville Correction Facility. And this is not normal, but because I guess, like I said, they don't feel comfortable keeping Allen at the Carroll County Jail because they feel like something could happen to him or he'll do something to himself. They just don't have the manpower. Now, since that's a problem, the defense was trying to get him sent to a Carroll County, or not Carroll County, what is it? Check my notes here. Cass County, that's what it's like. I know it's a C. So they're trying to get him sent over to Cass County. So it would be the same thing, but just, it's a jail. But they would have the manpower. But right now, there's been, he's at Westville for right now. But that's why he's being detained at Westville, is because, they don't want anything to happen to him. So moving on, one thing with Max Baker, the intern, he did talk about he had a bad experience at Westville. I guess, they're trying to get water for Richard Allen. They wouldn't get him water. The other thing that they thought was kind of odd is, so they did have a camera recording Richard Allen, but in a separate room, and they thought this was against his attorney-client privileges. Now, there's no audio to the camcorder, and apparently, from what the warden says, is that's actually for their safety, just in case if Richard Allen was to lash out at them, then they would have that on tape. But I guess the defense argued enough that I think they are not going to have the camera anymore, at least there in the prison. I agree. and like I said, we're going to talk about this. I think he's trying to starve himself. It's kind of reminds me of the Dylan Rounds case because it's the same thing with Brenner. He's doing the same thing right now. He's putting on a pity party. Thank you so much, Tom. Hope you feel better, Chris. Thank you, Dave. So moving on. All right, so I'm going to play this video while I talk. Let's see. Okay, so trial set for next for January, but you know that could change. But January 8th would be the start. Let's see. We'll talk about the confession here in a minute. So another witness they brought up on the stand was Gary Lewis. He works at the Westville prison. The highlight that he said is Richard Allen in the beginning, when he got there, that they had companions, which was kind of odd term. So it's basically inmates, I guess, that are on good behavior or something, that actually kind of look out for other inmates that maybe, may self-harm themselves. So they're called companions. So they watch other inmates that may do harm to themselves. So I guess in the beginning, Richard Allen did have companions looking over him, watching him. The defense didn't like this. Since then, I guess this is when he first got there. I guess since then, now they have a full-time guard watching him 24/7, along with a camera. So he is being watched 24/7. Let me take a sip here. And then I'll kind of take a break and I'll get to some comments here. The next witness was Edward Schroeder. Now, he works at Cass County, so he's the one where the defense team wants to send Richard Allen to. Instead of Westfield, they want to send him to the Cass County Jail, which would basically be the same thing as the Carroll County Jail, except they believe Cass County would have the manpower to take him. Quote Edward Schroeder, who is kind of the sheriff out there, he's quoted as saying, "I really don't want to take him." That's what he was quoted as saying. I thought it was kind of interesting. It is a big jail, but the big problem is he would be placed on self-harm watch. So this is the problem, is if he went there, he would be placed on self-harm watch and he couldn't be visited, which I think is kind of odd, but that's what they said. That's the highlights from that. So I don't understand why he couldn't get visits, but apparently, if they want to send him over there, they... Now, I'm assuming that's family members and stuff like that. I'm assuming attorneys would be able to visit him. That seems kind of stupid, but no visit from anybody else. So let me look at the comments for a minute, and then we'll get back to it, because like I said, we're going to get to the confessions and some of the context of these confessions and where they kind of hinted some of these confessions came from. Jennifer says, sorry, no empathy for him. I think at the very, I think everybody, we want him a fair trial, and we don't, want any bad things going on behind the scenes. And, the defense definitely picked away at, if there was something nefarious going on behind the scenes. But to me, it just sounds like he's just not eating well, and I think it's just could be just catching up to him, and he's, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. So Camilla Norris, thank you so much. In my opinion, he's lost alcoholic weight. Oh yeah. Had already had a limp, and poking out your bottom lip doesn't make you mentally incompetent. I went by RA a pack of. Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about. He does have commentary. So thank you so much, Camilla, for the $20. It helps this channel so much. But we do have others that think he's being drugged. They did have one defense attorney. If we get time, I'll see if I can get that clip. He said that he had a client. This is a previous client, not Richard Allen, that experienced. We got to this picture because we're going to talk about the context of this picture. Because of course this came out a couple months ago and didn't look good. And this was taken by his defense attorneys. But the warden was put on the stand yesterday and talked about this. This is actually leading up to this, him being brought in here. It was all caught on camera. So we'll talk about that. Let me keep going up. Yeah, so it's not exactly like solitary. It's not like the hole. It is obviously he's segregated, but we're going to talk about his conditions. But yeah, even then though, obviously, let's say he is the one that did it, and he gotten away for 5 years. Maybe thought he could maybe somebody else would get thrown under a bus for it, and now it's finally catching up to him. Certainly plausible. Thank you so much, Mama 3. Yeah, just I don't know, it just hit me hard. Just kind of a little nauseous, but just feel like I got a little fever going on. But get to a few more. I think. Yeah, and that's part of the thing. Exactly. Nobody wants that because it's going to be a lot of work. Either even if he's guilty or not, just having that stigma, yeah, he's going to be a handful, and that's basically what Edward Schroeder, he's literally quoted on the stand saying, "I really don't want him." So you can't blame him. All right, so moving on. Then we have Tony Liggett, who's been mentioned a lot in the Delphi, but kind of in the background. He's been kind of like the lead investigator since day one. But when you think of Delphi and law enforcement, you think of Doug Carter, Tobe Leatherby, who was also on the stand. I don't think I got any highlights from him. He didn't really have much. Was he on the? I think he was on the stand for shortly. So let's see. This was interesting. So, who's Tony Liggett's the sheriff, and like I said, he's kind of it was lead investigator in the beginning. Apparently, the defense had a question for him. They're wondering why Tony Liggett went to go try to interview Richard Allen without the attorney's permission. So I guess they found out that Tony went to go interview Richard Allen without notifying the attorneys, and they were not happy about that. We don't really get to understand what the context is. My guess could be maybe to talk about a plea or something like that. If the confessions were shortly before he did this. Then let's see. All right, we'll save the confessions for the last, because they did talk about the confessions with Tony a little bit, I believe. But let's get on to the warden, which was kind of like the main thing for today's show, and I guess kind of the main highlight for yesterday, in my opinion. So they brought the warden in from Westville Corrections. His name's John. I don't know his last name. John something. So they just kind of talked about his living conditions. So apparently he is in a segregated cell, obviously. It's supposed to be, I couldn't quite hear the other part, but I think they said 8.5 by 10 feet, which is kind of a basic cell. They said he's got a toilet. He's got toilet paper. He's got a bed with mattress. He gets fresh clothes. He does have access to a tablet, which actually he broke one of his tablets, and they actually got him a new one instead of charging him, because I guess it costs $200 to get a new tablet. these tablets, you can buy movies, buy music. You can obviously communicate with your family, text. Of course, I'm sure they charge you a pretty penny for it, but he does have access to a tablet just like any other inmate. So, yeah. So it sounds like he's got everything. He has access to commissary. He gets medical daily. He's probably got a better medical care than we do, or I do. Now I know I mentioned this kind of earlier. One of the things that they talked about, the defense brought up, because it was, they went back and forth, defense and prosecution with the warden. They said that the visits that were being recorded are now stopped because they weren't happy about that. But he, told them that this is just for their safety and for, if Richard Allen was to lash out at his own attorneys, they would have it on camera. And like I said, the video, it just records video. Supposedly there's no audio, and it's recorded in a different room. So, Tom says, I still think there is someone else involved. I think we can all agree. Even the prosecutor says there's multiple, more than one actor and multiple tentacles. So, curious to know who else is involved. I think law enforcement has known it for a while. Yep, agree. Law enforcement even told KK, we know you didn't do it. They had a task of proving beyond a reasonable doubt it was Richard Allen. I totally agree. But yeah, who is the other person? Or other actors, actually, because there could be more than one. I wouldn't be surprised. I love that you can see the stuff here. Man, I swear you had the 13 months. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Abby and Libby love member for 14 months. Man, that's so crazy. It feels like it's been less than that. Thank you so much for your amazing support, Jennifer. Daniel says, after trial, if found guilty, they can hang him by his you know what. But until then, he needs a fair trial. Totally agree. Yeah, we don't want him wasting away. But it sounds like, and we're going to talk about this picture here because I've got it up. I'm going to get to that here in just a minute. And then we're going to talk about the confessions. But let me take a sip here. And wow, this is taking off. So we've got close to 300 votes. I'm just going to update you guys on the voting. So I'm polling you guys right now. Do you think Richard Allen will make it to trial next year, which is set for January? Right now, leading the polls. Now it's kind of gotten away a little bit. Most of you at 33%. I guess it's still close. Most of you think no, he will make a plea deal. Or at least more than half of you, I should say. And then we've got all the other ones are pretty much 20% say yes, no, he won't last, and not sure. Okay, so the context of this picture right here. So, of course he looks frail and it looks like he's being treated to bed. Well, according to the warden, because he was kind of asked about this incident, he says the reason why he looks dirty is apparently he just got done working, spending 45 minutes in the rec room. And so after he got done with the rec room, he was told that, his defense, his attorneys are there to see him. And he's seen on video walking back to his cell, which they thought, they would assume he would change his clothes. He did not change his clothes. And so he went from his cell then to, a private room with his attorneys. So according to the warden, that's the context behind this picture, is that the reason he looks dirty and drooling is literally he just came from the rec room. Now getting closer to the really interesting. I mean, that's kind of interesting, but some really interesting things. Apparently, Richard Allen has written multiple letters to the warden. Now they were starting to kind of talk about the context of these, or they were going to, and then they did a sidebar and shut that down. So there's a little bit of speculation about what could be in these letters. Is he making a plea deal? Is it there's a confession in here? Is he complaining? But kind of interesting. Um, the warden says, as far as his mental health, he says that some days he's fine. He says he's just fine. And then he says other days he's bad. So he says he has these good days and bad days. So as far as his mental and health, he says some days it's good and some days it's bad. So it's interesting. Now kind of moving on to the confessions. So there was, obviously, apparently 5 to 6 confessions that he supposedly made. And a few of those, from what I could gather, is that some of these could have been on the phone calls to his family, which was interesting. So some of these confessions could be recorded. Now, will they be admissible in court? Because how much context is there to the confession? We don't know, but that was kind of hinted at, that some of these confessions were on a phone call to his family. So I thought that was really interesting. Let's see. So we talked about that. Let's see. Any more? Okay, so that's most of it. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a short live. I just wanted to get right to the good stuff. And we'll recap just on the highlights real quick for those that might have missed it. So let me get to the chat for a minute, and then we'll just recap everything. But yeah, I seen some. Obviously, everybody's been covering this, so I tried to find some stuff that may not have been talked about on other channels. I don't know. Thank you so much, Gigi. Thank you so much for your in-depth coverage. Yes, I wish I had more. Usually I have a full visual presentation for those that most know me. But yeah, like I said, I'm not feeling too well today, unfortunately. See-through says, no alcohol, no smoking, no sun, no sleep, no appetite. I think he looks great considering. That's true. Yeah, because he was, I mean, we've seen a lot of pictures of him with smokes next to him. And so, yeah, that's actually usually when you quit smoking, you kind of gain your appetite. But yeah, the alcohol thing is clearly, it sounds like he was pretty deep into alcohol. And if he is guilty, then you kind of makes sense. All he has to do is eat and stop starving himself. Yeah. Yeah, let's hope it's, nothing bad happens. But, right now, and I'll recap, let me just get through this real quick. The fact that different witnesses seen different suspects dressed in different clothing. Yeah, it is odd. And I did a show on that very thing. It is kind of interesting that, yeah, in some they were kind of similar, but there are some differences between the witnesses. Totally agree. The fact that the different witnesses seen different suspects dressed in different clothing is because there were different suspects. Only time will tell. Thank you so much, Tom. I'm so glad to see you back and doing better, buddy. Good to see you, Mitzi. I wish I could shout everybody out. So, quick recap. I'm just going to play this while I do it. So, he's being stayed at the Westville Corrections. The reason why is because they can't keep him at Carroll County Jailhouse. They use the word kind of poor. They just don't have the manpower at Carroll County. So his defense team wanted to send, the next best place would be Cass County. But Edward Schroeder, the sheriff, says, we don't want him. We don't want to take on that responsibility. But they could do it. But then there would be some problems with that, which he would have to be on self-harm watch, and he wouldn't get visits from family, I'm assuming. And then we talked about that picture just recently. The whole picture of him looking terrible is really he was doing recreation for 45 minutes. Had and one thing they talked about multiple times, not just the warden, but one of the other guys that works at Westville, said that he has access to fresh clothes at all times. So they thought that was ridiculous that, we see him. Now that I'm talking about it, let me go back to. They think it's ridiculous that he looks like this because he literally went to his jail cell and had access to fresh clothes he could have changed. So, and that was brought up a couple of times. Then the confessions. Well, actually, no. The letters, multiple letters been written to the warden of Westville. We don't know the context. They were going to kind of talk about that. Oh, there is one more other update. But yeah, they did a sidebar and they didn't talk about it anymore. So we don't know the context of the letters, but they are to the warden. But we don't know, is it confession? Is it how he's being treated? And oh yeah, the update. So they're gonna do a big document. Well, I don't know big, but they're gonna do a document drop next week. We don't know exactly what day. Usually when they say they're gonna do it, they do it pretty fast. So I wouldn't be surprised by maybe Monday, Tuesday. We get some documents. I have no idea what they're gonna be. I mean, they're not gonna be nothing huge, but I'm sure they may be some interesting things in there. But yeah, so that'll be an interesting show for maybe Monday or Wednesday, whenever they drop. Banana Pants, he's confessed in prison. Yeah, that's another thing. Is a lot of people are wondering why was he in yellow. This particular video is obviously an older one, but yeah, I've never found anything out about why he had that specific color on yesterday. Oh, you're responding to Banana Pants. Oh, I get that. I thought you were talking about because it does look like Banana Pants. I hope he's the right guy, but I prefer real evidence before forming an opinion. Oh, yeah. I get that not everyone in the true crime community takes that approach, but I respect different opinions. I totally respect that comment. We tried to stick with the facts here. But, yeah, when you kind of run out of, content. Oh, no, Nightbot deleted your thing, Tom. Oh, I can't even pull it up. Thank you so much. I can't even see what you wrote, Tom. If you want to put it in the just comments. I don't know why I can't see that one. Let me just get to the comments here. Oh, I forgot I can switch this. Oh, that's so nice. Well, let me see it in here. Dilly Pickles. Okay, I miss Dilly. Oh, good to see you, Dilly. Member for 4 months. That's so awesome. Thank you so much, Dilly. Sharon, member for 15 months. Oh my gosh. Appreciate all you do, Chris. Mods, amazing. Thank you so much, Sharon. Watch us walk down those steps. Holy cow. That's why I put those videos together. It's more to do with the way he keeps his head angled down. Because just like the bridge, you got to keep your head down to kind of keep an eye on where you're stepping. I think there's a little bit of similarity. I mean, obviously there's so much difference. He's got cuffs on his legs. So you can't put too much stock into the side-by-side walk, but there's some kind of interesting similarities. But at the same time, yeah, he is shackled up, and But yeah, the way he has his head down, because if one thing that people have talked about that knew Richard Allen is that like worked with him, some of the coworkers, that they said he was a nice guy, but he was kind of quiet and he did tend to have his head down, which I mean, going off this video, this guy's got his head down for the entire 1 second, but it's kind of interesting. Make sure I didn't miss anything. So let me get back to my live chat here, and I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll so you guys can see it. Over 300 votes. Oh, get back here. So that was kind of interesting poll. It's pretty close, but most of you, a good portion of you, I guess I should say, what is it going to show up? Believe that he's going to take a plea deal. That would be really interesting. Someone said yellow is for self-harm watch. Makes sense. Could be. Walking the bridge would be similar to the stairs walks. Yeah, that's why I kind of put it together. I just wish it's too bad he wasn't wearing jeans in the uniform to kind of see. But yeah. Charles Goodwin. Oh, I keep forgetting to ask your email. Yeah, join the mob crew at outlook.com. The Fort Myers 8. Okay. No promises on requests when it comes to covering cases. I do get a lot of them. I'll look at it though for sure. Right now, YouTube's kind of been a stickler, and if I'm slowly getting back on track right now, and so I kind of want to stick with the more high-profile cases for now until I'm back in good grace with YouTube, because and it happens to a lot of YouTubers. You kind of have your ups and downs, and I feel like I'm just barely getting back on the up again. But I really just want to say thank you so much for everybody taking the time to watch the show. You guys mean everything to me. Of course, I wouldn't be able to give back by helping the missing if it wasn't for you guys taking the time out of your day to watch the show. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to all my mods: Jennifer, Karen, D, Michaela, Molly, Copper Horse. You guys are amazing. Karen. And then to all the members that support the show, all the people that donated, thank you so much. Next live will be Monday. And then 2 more things before I go. I've got, I just did a thing for the members. I did the UFO thing in Las Vegas. I just had to cover that because that's just a crazy story. Even if you don't believe in that stuff, what is the coincidences that you get a 911 call with people saying they see 2 10-foot aliens in their backyard, and just before that, you have the officers that are going to respond literally seeing something fly through the sky that's caught on camera. So absolutely wild. So I do try to do stuff for the members at least once a week, if not more. Also, another great way to support the channel is through my Patreon. I think we're up to 14 members, but I'm going to put something out this weekend for them. So that's another great way to support me. And with that said, I'm going to tag out early. And one more time, Mr. McGruff's going to say thank you so much. And thank you to Christina again for sending me McGruff. And let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Tom, man. So glad you're doing better, buddy. Love you, Teresa. Love all you. And we will see you guys on Monday. Most likely we'll have Steve on. Maybe Daniel Robinson case. We'll see. I don't know if they do the document drop early. We may cover the documents. Who better to have than Steve from True Crime Web? And of course, if you don't know who that is, if you want to go check him out, go please subscribe to his channel. And of course, my other companion, Sorry. There we go. Lost my audio for a minute. Carolyn from Unearthed Secrets, I saw her in here earlier. She's starting to get her YouTube channel up and running. She's the geophysicist. She does the ERI. She was out there on the Abercrombie case. If you want to go show some love, subscribe to her channel as well. And with that said, I am going to sign out. And thank you guys so much. Love you guys. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.